welcome back to This Never Gets Old. Today we have a very special guest. We have Matt Solomon, Managing Partner for Seniors Helping Seniors. South Bay, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hey, tell us a little bit about how you got into senior care. Sure. And what really attracted you to Seniors Helping Seniors.
Sure. Well, it was kind of an interesting road. I have a son who's neurodivergent, and so when we were looking for home care and respite care for my son, it's really hard to come by caregivers who actually were interested in him as opposed to just interested in his condition. And so when we were thinking about something to do after I retired from my career, we wanted something that would give back to the South Bay community, but we also wanted to do something that could help other people find care that was a really positive influence on the person they were caring for. And we ran across Seniors Helping Seniors and thought it was a really great concept, and decided in order to help people in our community, this would be a great way to do it.
Great. Yeah. So, looking at your website, I really appreciated the message and the mission, of what you're trying to do. What is Seniors Helping? Tell us a little bit about what the program is.
Yeah, it is different in a number of ways from your typical senior care agency. And, the biggest thing that makes us different is that we hire folks who are closer in age to those that they're caring for. And so what that looks like is if you've got, you're looking for senior care for your mom and she's 85, well, we'll most likely pair her with someone who has the same hobbies and interests as she has, who is similar in location to where she lives, and then also similar to age. And that doesn't mean we'd hire somebody who's 85 to take care of your mom. We'd hire somebody who's between the ages of 50 to 70, who's very active to take care of your mom. And that's done for a really specific reason. And that reason is because as you age, aging is relevant, right? So as you age, you start to feel for someone who's a little bit older than you. When you get to your 50s, you start to see that, hey, this is kind of it's a different thing to age at home. And so you start to have that relationship with aging that person is now going through. And so I hope that makes sense. What that looks like is now I can relate to you. When you're 21, you have a harder time relating to someone who's 65. When you're 50, you have no problem relating to someone who's 65. And what we find is that the care outcomes are better and it's a much more comfortable care experience. So when someone comes to your house to care for you and you've never met them before, it can feel very uncomfortable. They're new, they're in your house, you've never seen them before. But if they're closer in age to you, you immediately find that common ground. And I think that's what really separates us from your typical agency. The other thing is that all of our caregivers are local. That's really important because now if you live in El Segundo and I live in El Segundo, we can talk about El Segundo. So we've automatically found some common ground there. That and that the caregivers are going to show up refreshed. They're not going to be tired from driving from, Walnut. They're going to come to you fresh, ready to work, with something in common with you. And we find that again leads to better care outcomes. So those are really two of the major differences.
Yeah, that's awesome. We were talking a little bit earlier about how you recruit. I really love that it's an opportunity for seniors to seek employment.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that especially nowadays, we talked a little bit before the segment about how there's ageism in trying to find work, and we all know that. Whether it's inherent in a corporation's mission or not, I don't know. But what we really strive to do is to find meaningful employment for people that are above the ages of 50. Partly because it's really hard to find a job if you're 50 and over. Because there is ageism, but it's just also your skill set may not be as up to date, right? And so there may be reasons for not getting hired. What we find is that when you're 50, 55, 60, 65, you still have a lot to contribute, a ton to contribute because you have all this experience. And life experience is so critical in home care. And that's the part that we really felt was missing, right? The relevant experience, the age experience, being able to talk about what it's like to age and even in a fun way with your client is really critical. And so we focus on hiring seniors. As a matter of fact, it's kind of funny. We have questions on some of our applications that ask when you graduated high school. And it doesn't eliminate you. It doesn't eliminate you from qualification. It puts you into another category for us, and that is, do we have a client that matches with this person who didn't graduate, high school before 2022? And it doesn't mean we're not going to hire them, but they go on what we call our bench until we find a client that matches well with them. Folks who are older than that, we typically find, them employment really quickly. And the cool part about what we do is a lot of these people are already volunteering at their church to care for a senior, or they're doing it on their own for a family member, not realizing that they can get paid. And we pay for people's background checks. We pay for their FBI fingerprinting. We pay for their TB test. We pay for all of their training to get them their HCA license. So even if they're not working with our agency, they can go work for any other agency that's looking for a home care aide, because now they're certified. And to us, that adds it adds value to our community, because now we're hiring people who are looking for work and need that work to supplement maybe Social Security, or people that, like I said, they're volunteering. And so, if they're semi-retired, they need a little bit more money, or they're just looking for something to do, this is a really great opportunity for them to do that. And so,
are there any, I don't want to say restrictions, but, is it open to people with like a diverse background of employment?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny. What we find is people who have worked in customer service tend to be really good at senior care. People who've worked in the healthcare industry at all tend to be really good at senior care. Part of it, so those two categories, ironically, customer service is a huge category, sales, anybody that they've had interactions with people that have been both positive and negative, because then they know how to kind of deal with those situations. But the other thing that comes really highly recommended for us is, have you taken care of someone in your family? Have you raised kids, right? If you've raised children, you know what it's like to care for someone else in a really meaningful way and have to deal with issues both positive and negative. And so what we find is people who have raised children tend to be great home care aides for seniors. Yeah, and so there aren't really any restrictions. We've had people from all kinds of backgrounds. We have people who, retired as millionaires and they don't need to work. And we've got people who are, kind of looking for that 4 hour a day. That's the maximum that they can physically work, but they need as many hours as they can get to supplement their Social Security. And so people come from all backgrounds, and we hire people from all kinds of backgrounds. As long as they're healthy and active, we're hiring them.
Great. I wanted to say that's a lot of food for thought, and that is a transition into food, so I'm going to say that. But yeah, we're going to continue on. But first, I want you to try that food. Everybody's seen that beautiful plate of food there. Why don't you go ahead and dig in and,
awesome.
and taste it?
I
and
will.
See what you think.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to move it closer.
Yep.
My mom always said, move your plate closer to the end of the table, so I'll do that.
That's a riff. Amazing. That's a riff on a pasta primavera. So it's got some nice fresh vegetables, some lemon zest, some orange zest. Very healthy.
I was not prepared for it to be this good, quite frankly. To be honest, I was like, who knows what this could be like? It's really, really good.
Great. Wow. While you continue to enjoy that, we're going to show everybody how I made it.
Wow. I'm going to keep eating.
You can cut. Yeah. Well, he keeps eating. I love it, man.
This is really good.
I love it. Welcome back, everybody, to the This Never Gets Old Kitchen. Today, we're taking it on the road with a fast, easy, delicious, and healthy pasta primavera. Let's get started. So the first step is to add your asparagus, your broccolini, and 1 zucchini to a pot of boiling water. You're also going to add the lemon peel of 1 lemon and 1 garlic. And you're going to let that blanch for 3 to 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, you're going to take your vegetables out of the boiling water. Okay, once you've taken your vegetables out, you use the same boiling water that you blanched your vegetables, and you're going to add a box of your favorite pasta. Stir that around a bit so it doesn't stick. Let that come back to a boil and cook your pasta al dente. So while you wait for your pasta to finish cooking, you're going to take about 6 to 8 ounces, maybe a cup of cream cheese, add it to a bowl, And you're going to add some of the pasta liquid to loosen it up, to make a sauce. Start with about 1/2 cup, stir that in. Mix it thoroughly so you get rid of all the large lumps. And to that, you're gonna add the zest of 1 lemon and 1 orange, and about 1 cup of chopped fresh dill. Some freshly ground black pepper, and stir that in. Now take your pasta, should be done by now. Take it out of the pot, put it into a bowl. Add your dill sauce. Add your vegetables. Add about 1 cup, 2 cups of chopped cherry tomatoes, and gently stir all that together. You're going to garnish with some chopped scallions, some sliced red onion, and some fresh chopped Italian parsley. And there you have it, pasta primavera with asparagus, broccolini, and zucchini. Enjoy. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to This Never Gets Old. Today we're joined by Matt Solomon. He's a managing partner for Seniors Helping Seniors in South Bay. He just enjoyed our plate of food that we served him, and delicious.
Awesome. Very good. Yeah, and healthy. So I appreciate
Great.
both of those things.
That just like fills me with such joy when I hear that. Let's get back to the subject. When people hear in-home care, a lot of times they frail. The image that pops in their head is a frail, isolated, unable to move around on their own. Your caregivers and clients are living out life like to the fullest, right? They go to concerts, they go bowling, they enjoy sports, they grab lunch, they stay active. What are some of the activities and hobbies that you see seniors enjoying together?
Yeah, I mean, I have so many clients that I could talk about. So our seniors, they benefit in a number of ways from having home care. And you're right, when you think about home care, you think that like someone can't do something typically, so they're inviting someone in their home to help them. And I hear this all the time where my seniors will say, I'm independent. I'm very independent. I'm so independent. And our goal as a senior home care agency, and this may not be true of all agencies, is to provide you with more independence. We actually want to make you more independent by having someone there. And that sounds like kind of an oxymoron, but the truth of the matter is what we find is that people become more capable. They become more independent. They start enjoying things they used to enjoy. And that's where the additional independence comes in. And I'd love to tell a story about a gentleman. And this is we have a lot of female caregivers just by proxy. It's just that's a lot of people who apply tend to be female. We have fewer male caregivers, but we have a few that have so many different hobbies. And one in particular, this gentleman loves the outdoors, loves nature, loves taking pictures of nature and hiking. Lo and behold, we match him with this gentleman who is having a hard time kind of connecting his thoughts to his speech, but his body is fully capable. He can do anything, and he loved to hike. As a matter of fact, he was part of a group of people, and I think it's called it's an actual group that goes mountaineering and goes hiking. Well, he had to stop doing that because he felt like he couldn't communicate while he was hiking, and he was a bit embarrassed about going hiking with his old friends, given kind of where he was with his health. And so one of the things that we paired these two together. They're with each other for 3 hours per day, every day. And so every other day they go hiking. They go on a new hike. And the caregiver said, when we get about a mile out, I said, "Look, a mile out, they're doing these 3.5 mile hikes. Yeah. When we get about a mile out, the client is like a different person and his speech improves. And he can point things out that he sees that I love that tree. It's called a junior sapling. And lo and behold, he's improving, and so that's just one example of an area where, this person that loved to hike, stopped hiking, got care, got a caregiver or a companion caregiver really. And lo and behold, he's out hiking again and doing things that he really enjoys. And so for us, I think that that's where the rubber meets the road. Those kinds of activities, or just getting someone to drive again. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, right? Driving offers us a ton of independence, especially in Los Angeles.
Absolutely.
And I'm just going to give you one more example that I love. But when I went to visit this woman, this was the client, she was in her bed. She had a terrible cough. She had all of her medications kind of all over the place, and she only wanted like a couple hours a day. And I thought, like, you could use 8 hours a day. You know, I have to do an analysis on whether or not this is going to be useful for you. She was really funny, and she was kind of flirting with me a little bit, and which I thought was funny. And I asked her, well, if we could get you a caregiver, what would be ideal, right? Like, would it be a couple hours a day to help you with, you know, some errands? And that's what she wanted. And I said, would you like a male or a female caregiver? And she said, ooh, I think I'd like a male caregiver. So we matched her with a male caregiver. It was super cute, you know, and it was just really funny that like she felt like that would help her. And one day I'm driving and she calls me and she says, hey, Matt, can you tell my caregiver that I'm going to be 30 minutes late? And I said, Jackie, where are you? Right? I thought, oh, did she get a ride to it? Oh, I'm in the drive-thru at Wendy's. So she hadn't driven since I'd known her. And this was only a few weeks later. Now she's driving. She's in the drive-thru at Wendy's getting herself a cheeseburger. You know, her life has changed because she's been given more independence. She's got somebody coming over, maybe doing some of the things that she doesn't like to do, right? Like a lot of what we put off are things that, like, I don't really want to mop. You've seen an older person's house kind of, we call their house, it starts to look decrepit. Really what happens is it starts to look like they're doing the things they like to do and not the things they don't like to do that still need to get done. And our caregivers do those things for seniors. And so it allowed her to, like, hey, you know what? I feel better. I'm not doing these things I don't like to do. I've got more time. I feel like I could drive and go get myself a burger. And lo and behold, she's not in bed anymore with all her medications around her. Her cough is gone. She got better. And I can tell you 9 times out of 10, people balk at getting care. And the minute that they accept the care, they improve. And if I could see that, if I could show them example after example of this being true, more people would probably take that on, you know?
Yeah, I think that that the perception is, and the fear comes from, you think that it's a clinician or it's right, and it's
a nurse,
it's
right?
A nurse,
right?
You know,
yep.
And this is not that, right? This
At
is
all.
much more of a friendship between two individuals, right?
Yep.
And I think that's the beauty of the program.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I love you bring that up because, as a matter of fact, we say it's like getting a little help from a friend. That's one of our taglines. It's like getting a little help from a friend, and that's how we want it to feel. Like we want it to feel like your buddy's coming over, hang out for 3 hours, and you know you guys are playing games or going on a hike, going to get your errands done, going to get your medications, and then and it should feel very normal and natural. We actually don't let our caregivers wear scrubs. So sometimes agencies will say that you have to wear a uniform or scrubs. I rarely wear a shirt with a logo on it because a lot of our seniors don't want their neighbors knowing that they're getting help, right? It should look like they're getting help from a friend, and that's the way we really think it works best.
Yeah. That's great. So every switching subject just slightly, every week we try to feature a senior that is kind of breaking the mold of what the perception of seniors today.
Yep.
Now it's time to meet our senior of the week, Richard Schwegel. He's a musician, a teacher, and a composer who spent decades sharing his love for music. Now he's bringing that passion to a new music class for retired adults who want to learn an instrument, because it's never too late to make music. To learn more about Richard, his classes, his study sheets, and what he's working on, check out our YouTube channel. Let's check him out.
My name is Richard Schwegel, and I started playing guitar in 2nd grade. I think that might have been a little too early because I didn't really enjoy it. In 3rd grade, I went and started playing drums, which was a natural passion for me. Ringo, I guess, was the one that got me excited about wanting to play drums. I didn't want to teach at first. I wanted to just perform. And I think that's the wisest road to take so that you become a better teacher. And I guess it was around 86 that I started teaching at a music store in Manhattan Beach called Gene Lee's. And then after that, later on, the Dietz brothers opened their own store, which is the shop we're in right now. John and Pat Dietz, and been working with them ever since. I enjoy most having people rediscover music because everyone gets a taste of it somewhere along the line, even if they just bang on a piano once. The fact that I enjoyed it so much, it was a natural pastime for me, that I do enjoy bringing that out in other people and showing them it's not as difficult as they make it out to be. I started in high school at Manhattan School of Music, and then I went to Boston University for 2 years, and then I took some classes at Stony Brook University on Long Island, and then I graduated from USC. Oddly enough, after all that training, I went to a community college right up the street here, El Camino, and I felt I learned just as much from that very reasonable school as I did from all the major universities. Well, it's taught me many things. I would say it almost taught me everything. You can start with discipline, focus, concentration. You get a true sense of enjoying a pastime, just like any sport or art or mechanics or sculpting, woodworking. You get into it and you understand that it's the joy of doing it rather than just the expectation of having done it. I would tell everyone from the age 9 to 99 that it's never too late to pick up an instrument, sing, right? Everybody should sing. It's probably one of the healthiest things you can do. Everyone says to me, oh, I don't sing. I go, well, have you ever sung Happy Birthday? Yeah, well, then you sing. In terms of learning an instrument, there's many simple instruments that are almost instant gratification. Strumming a ukulele is how they call it. Just the open strings is a C chord. There's many studies showing how playing an instrument or learning a new language like music, which is a language in itself, I call it the universal language, that it really helps everything in terms of the body. It's healthy, it's good for the mind, it's relaxing, it lowers your blood pressure. I mean, just Google, is music healthy? And you'll come up with dozens of stuff. Well, to get in touch with me, the best way was just to call me. Leave me a message. My phone number is 310-266-8756. You can also email me, which is richard.piano.drums@gmail.com. And I teach drums, piano, and the mallet instruments like vibraphone, marimba, orchestra bells, which the kids have to learn at school. Once I started to get that little bug of playing, particularly with the Long Island Youth Orchestra, that's when I decided I would probably enjoy a life in music.
So is it a family decision to reach out to you? Is it individuals? How does that part work?
Oh, wow. The majority of people who reach out to us are family members. So, and unfortunately, they typically reach out when they've gotten to a point where they can no longer handle their lives plus taking care of their mom, or whatever the case may be, and they're at that jumping off point. That's when we typically get calls. We rarely get calls from people who are looking for themselves, because people don't know necessarily how bad they are, until something happens. The people who do call for themselves typically are those being released from a facility. So they've had hip surgery. They know they're going to need a little help. They think they're only going to need it for a few weeks. The more interesting cases and the ones that we get most calls are people who, I've been taking care of my mom. I've got 2 young kids. I've got my own family. I live in Long Beach. Mom lives in Redondo Beach. And I'm there every night to put her to bed, right? It gets to a point where it's impossible to do that. Yeah. And the guilt and shame that people feel around not being able to take care of their mom and run their life is this theme that comes up again and again and again. And so a lot of the times I let people know, hey, just so you know, from my experience, this is very common. You're right where you need to be. Like, don't feel bad about making this decision. This is what comes up for a lot of people, you know? And I think that makes them feel good, better knowing that, like, in my experience, everybody goes through it because they try their best to be able to take care of their parent. My mom took care of me. I'm going to take care of her now. Just making that switch from being child or daughter or whatever it may be to caregiver is nearly impossible because mentally, it's not even the physical, it's mentally being able to jump back and forth from those two positions is incredibly difficult. It's incredibly taxing on your psyche, on your mental health. And so 9 times out of 10, when people call us in that position, they're like, I've had it because they've tried it. It doesn't work for them. And they're now just asking for help and they need it now. And so that's when you really need to calm people down. So to answer your question, a lot of the times it's that jumping off point and it's people calling who've been taking care of a family member. It's rarely that, hey, mom could really use some companionship, you know, and I wish it was more of that. We do get some of that. Those are the ones that tend to work out the best. Those people live long, really robust lives. When it's we need somebody in here now because I can't do it anymore. You know, those are the ones that I typically get. And of course they're harder. They're not harder to fill. They're harder to fill with that kind of loving touch that we like to give people because they're at that point, they just want somebody there. They don't care who it is, not realizing that, you know, you really do care who it is. You want to get this right the first time, and that's what we strive to do. Going through this process is not fun for people. They've got 8 agencies calling them, and they, quite frankly, all the agencies are the same for the most part, outside of us. And we really want people to understand what that means. Like when you want to get this right the first time, you want the right person there that's going to do a great job for you, that's going to show up on time, not miss shifts, that's going to be able to relate to your mom in a really meaningful and healthy way. You know, and you're going to get that the first time, as opposed to going through this time and time again. Now, the people only change agencies 2% of the time, which is crazy. 2% of the reasons for someone leaving an agency is because of the caregiver, which you'd think it would be 98%. Yeah. But once people have gone through the process, they don't want to go through it again, which is unfortunate. Once they've got you, they've got you. Yeah. And so I always tell people, if you're unhappy with your caregiver, make the switch. It'll be worth it, right? Pay a couple of dollars more for the agency that you trust that's telling you the things that you really needed to hear, like, our caregivers are all background checked and insured. And so that's really important as well. So yeah, I think getting it right the first time is important. For us as an agency, because we want people to be happy with the service, but we also, we've talked a lot about the clients. We want our caregivers to be happy too, and so if our caregivers are miserable because the client's not treating them well, then that's not a good match, right? We've got to fix that as well. So, yeah.
So we talked a little bit about activities, and we talked a little bit about the outcomes of when someone falls, right? Mm-hmm. And how important exercise is to staying strong, right? So one of the things we like to feature on the show is an exercise tip of the week. Mm-hmm. So we're going to check that out really quick, and then we'll come back and talk some more.
All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
We're going to be working on some wrist strengthening exercises, very important as we mature. So we're going to start with flexion, very lightweight. You're going to curl it up. Straight up, make sure you don't tilt one way or the other. And then extension, you're going to flip your hand so your palm is down. You're going up and down. Again, try to keep that dumbbell straight. Don't let it tilt to one side or the other. And then you're going to bring the dumbbell head so it's pointed up. You're going to raise it up. This is a radial movement, and then down. Working on the ulnar. Okay, making sure your wrist is a little bit off the bench. You can also rotate up and down so you get the full range of motion with the wrist movement.
Welcome back to the show. We're here with Matt Solomon, Managing Partner for Seniors Helping Seniors, South Bay is it South Bay Division? South Bay? What is?
It's South Bay Beach cities. Yeah, we do everybody from San Pedro all the way up to El Segundo and outwards. So it's the entire kind of South Bay area. Yeah.
So seniors helping seniors, South Bay is part of a larger network?
Correct. Yep. So we're actually a franchise operation, and our franchise founders started in 1989, many moons ago. And they've kind of fine-tuned it for us, which is great. All the stuff that I'm talking about really is their philosophy about like seniors helping another senior. It just works out better. We found scientifically through the years that the outcomes are better. So yeah, we're part of a larger organization. The good news is the organization has really started filling in on the West Coast. As a matter of fact, when I purchased my franchise, my 2 territories, a friend of mine purchased, he lives in Hermosa, and he purchased everything north of basically Westchester to Malibu, all the way to Malibu. So and then of course inland a little bit. And then of course I've got friends who own the Hollywood division out to Pasadena, and now someone just bought Long Beach. So the good news is the concept is really catching on because there's a lot more seniors, every day. And there's not enough good agencies out there. I always tell people 50% of the agencies are really in this for the right reasons. And those are the good agencies. And I think the people who are drawn to this concept are the right types of people to kind of be leading senior care where it needs to go for the future and just for the sheer numbers of people who are going to need services. So it's great because kind of filling out the West Coast now. And it's nice to see.
So getting back into expectations, when a family contacts you, what's the process and what can they expect?
Sure. So the first call is I try and keep it really short because they're in the middle of it, and what I try and express to them are the things that I think are the most important that they should be asking every agency that they talk to. So I typically don't get into necessarily what our differences are. They want to know about price, and I'll tell them prices directly over the phone. I have no problem doing that. But shopping via price, as you know, is not a great way to shop for anything, quite frankly. Because you're always going to get those people who give you the low price, and then when they're in your home, it goes up from there. And so we don't do that either. We don't price gouge in that way, or bait and switch in that way. But the process goes like this for us. I say, we're here for you as a resource, and I mean that to be true no matter what. If you're feeling lost, you just want somebody to talk to, this is my cell phone number, and you can call me or text me at any time. Number 2, whoever you work with or talk to, make sure they're licensed, bonded, and insured. Those 3 things. They need to be all 3 of those things so that you have no liability when we're in your home. Because a lot of times they'll hire a private caregiver because they're less expensive, yet they hold all the liability. If the caregiver trips and falls, they're going to sue you and you're going to lose your home. We don't want that. So I tell them, make sure you're asking those questions. And then I let them know about our services. It's really, really clear. Some people are a great match for us. Others may not be such a great match for us. And the people that aren't a great match for us typically are those who are bedridden, who need a lot of lifting. For obvious reasons, our seniors don't do a lot of lifting, who lack mobility, perhaps. It's harder to find caregivers that like to do toileting and showering, right? Because those are kind of the tougher ones. And caregivers get trained for that, but not everybody's comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
So we go through that process of just kind of understanding if we might be a good fit. And then I immediately tell people, my price, that I've been bonded, licensed, insured. Let's meet in person. Let me come to your house, 15-minute painless conversation, just to make sure we think we're a good match. And that to me is the most important part. When I can meet someone face to face in their home and they say, you know what, I like you, you like me. And I think now we can kind of move forward with what we call the matching process. And before they even sign a contract, we get started on matching them or their loved one after we've met them in person with a caregiver we think is going to be a best fit. And so that criteria I mentioned earlier includes location, interests and hobbies, and then age. That's obviously a huge factor. Sure. Sex, not as much, male or female, not as much, unless someone specifically requests, a female, or if there's showering and toileting involved. Yeah. And so that's the process. And once that happens, a contractual agreement for us is not, hey, you're going to sign with us for 3 months. It's more, it's more about just knowing that we're non-medical. So that's something, we don't do any medical. We call 911 in case of an emergency. We don't do CPR. So that's really all you're signing up for. You're just agreeing that you're going to work with us, that you're going to call us 48 hours in advance if you need to make a change, those kinds of things. But very simple, very straightforward process. With us, we want it to be very comfortable, and we want it to feel like you're getting a little help from a friend. So it's not a heavy sell. It's not a giant contract. That's the process. Very easy.
And what is the follow-up? I mean, do you stay involved with the relationship and check in and check, from
That's a
periodically?
great question. Yeah. So like I said, they have my cell phone number. And whether or not they want to call me at any time is really up to them, but they've got it. They've got a direct line to me, and I'm the owner. I also have a director of operations. Her name's Julie. She's incredible. She was my first caregiver I ever hired, and she moved into a corporate role because she's so good with people, and she really understands what we're looking for from a persona perspective when we hire someone. And that's critical. They have to match our values. They have to match kind of our mission and our principles. And Julie does that to a T. And so she's really the person that does the follow-up. But one of the things we do that's much different than other agencies, and we didn't know this when we started doing it, we do what we call a warm handoff. And so that means when someone signs up with us, and I'm doing one tonight with my wife, who's going to be the caregiver tonight, but they've met me already because I was in their home. They've already met me. So when I come back with the caregiver that's going to start their first night or first day, it's so much more comfortable because we've met, right? And we feel like we kind of know each other. If I bring a caregiver in here, oh, it's Matt and the caregiver. Here's your caregiver for the day. I do the handoff, the warm introduction. I stay for about 20 minutes and then I leave. And it just makes for a much more seamless, easy transition to caregiving than if someone just knocked at your door, right? If I leave here and someone just knocks on the door and you don't know who they are, it's going to be like, oh, okay, take a little bit longer to warm up to them. And so we did that. We just thought that that was the right thing to do. It felt better. We did that without knowing how much of an impact it makes on that transition for the senior and the senior's family to see a friendly face, bring the caregiver, even though it takes time out of our day, whatever, 20 minutes, we got to get dressed and get out there, but it's so worth it because it just makes everything better for the client. And so we also, we do long-term care. We have a lot of people with long-term care insurance, and that's something that I can talk about. Everyone should try and have if they can. It's not cheap, but it's really important. The people that I see that have it, they get all these benefits that the people struggling to figure out, even if they live in a $3 million home in Manhattan Beach, can't afford senior home care, and the people with long-term care insurance can. So we do long-term care insurance notes. I do all the notes myself. I sign them myself. And basically, that's the document that you send into long-term care insurance. That's the follow-up on the visits. So when you say, do you do follow-ups, there's a couple ways we do. That's one, by submitting the long-term care insurance notes and follow-up. But also, when a caregiver starts with a client, we're doing kind of two different types of follow-up. The caregiver, how did it go today, right? First day, how did it go? First week, how did it go? And second week, how did it go? Once you get past the second week, you're kind of in a rhythm, and you're either going to hear from the caregiver or the client kind of on a normal cadence. But after 2 weeks, things seem to really, we're not as involved. We let our clients get our caregivers' cell phone numbers. A lot of agencies say that's no. You can be fired for giving, and they're concerned that the client's going to recruit the caregiver. We're not worried about that. That's not a concern for us. We want it to be easy for the client, so we want to make it that follow-up just as easy. So yeah, we stay very in touch with our clients.
We've been trying to grow our subscriber base in our likes organically because we don't want to come across as like trying to market things,
Sure.
Yeah. So, and I think that a sincerity comes through and people trust us, trust the show.
Sure.
So somebody out there right now watching or listening on the podcast could be thinking, that sounds right for me. What do they do? How do they reach out?
Yep.
How can they contact you?
Sure. I mean, they can contact me at my phone number, which I'll give you. It's 310-722-2872. That's my cell phone. If you have questions about senior home care, in the South Bay or anywhere else, I have lots of great references that I can provide people, even if it's not with us. So I'm happy to do that. The other thing is our website. You can go to www.shssouthbay.com. That's our website. I'm sorry, it's southbayshs.com.
It'll be on screen.
Okay,
We'll have
good.
that. Yeah, we'll have that
Sorry
on
about
screen.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think texting me or calling me is the best way. Like I said, it's my cell phone that I answer. And, we also have a corporate website as well if you're looking for other locations. But I'm always happy to help people kind of get them to
And
the right
direct them.
place. Yeah, in the right place. Absolutely.
We talked about a little earlier about also opportunities for seniors to be involved, to be caregivers.
Yes, sir.
Do they also?
Same way. Yeah, same thing. I typically will just ask for someone's email address. We have a very short application that we have people fill out. We usually require someone to have a resume of some kind, so we kind of have an understanding of the work that they've done. It doesn't need to be perfect. But yeah, it's a very short application. And then we like to jump right into the video interview with someone. So the application's real short, and then we do a 30-minute video interview with Julie. She interviews all of our caregivers before we hire them. And then there's just a short, process to getting certified. A lot of caregivers are already certified, and so that's very easy, but some people need to go through the background check process. So, yeah.
So for those people that are, again, listening and watching, what do you want them to take away from the conversation?
Yeah, I think I want them to know that there is a lot of help out there. There are a lot of people willing to do things for free, and there are also a lot of different ways to go about getting senior home care. I mean, I think the one thing I want people to know about is if they're even considering it, I encourage you to contact me or someone like me to just explore it, because it's going to add to your quality of life. It's not going to take away your independence. Like I said, it's going to open up your independence. It's going to get you doing things that you used to do, that you used to love, that you maybe even forgot that you love. And so that's one thing I really want to encourage people to do. I mean, I think the second thing is be careful and cognizant of who you work with. Make sure they're licensed, bonded, and insured. And then the third thing is, if you're at an age category now where you're in your early 50s or even early 60s, start thinking about how you might pay for this. We all are going to live longer than we thought we were going to live. Typically, that's how it works, right? And so start thinking about insurance. Start thinking about products that could help you, whether it's life insurance or long-term care insurance or whatever kinds of insurance it is that you might be able to use to help pay for some home care, if indeed you want to stay in your home. Again, there's other ways to do this. A lot of people don't want to stay in their homes. They'd rather go into a facility. For me, I would like to stay in my home for as long as I can, with the ones that I love.
Long-term care, do you think, is the best option?
I think it's, from what I've seen, long-term care insurance is the best and sometimes only option in terms of getting home care assistance in home, but it also helps with facility-based care as well. It's expensive, but I literally tell everyone that I meet now, since I've been in this industry, you got to look into long-term care insurance, because I see people who live, like I said, they live in Manhattan Beach and are having a hard time funding this because they've got to take it out of their 401k or their retirement. Then I see people who are living in an apartment in Harbor City who have long-term care insurance. Lo and behold, they can pay for all the senior home care they want. It's like a luxurious package that they're getting. They can have somebody come over 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the afternoon and do their laundry and clean their little apartment, go grocery shopping for them, and they can stay there for as long as they want. And so that's the big difference. It's the true advantage of long-term care insurance.
Yeah, I think that might be the golden nugget in the whole conversation.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge, and it's something I didn't know about. A lot of people don't know about it. And I'm not sure why that is. I think maybe because it may be out of reach for some people, but the sooner you can get it, for all you 30-year-olds out there, the earlier you buy it, the less expensive it is. So if you can think about investing in it now, you're going to live to be 85. You want, good quality care. The best way to do it is find a good insurance broker that sells long-term care insurance. Yeah.
So Matt, we talked about you. We talked about seniors helping seniors South Bay. You loved and enjoyed the food. We talked about our senior of the week, and we covered our exercise tip of the week. There's only one thing left. Are you ready to play a little this or that?
I think I am. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Fabulous. Great. That's great. Okay. These I don't actually see either. I know you haven't seen them. I don't see them either.
Okay.
Like our producer Lauren, knocks them out of the park every time. Right. So here we go. Would you rather read a book or watch a movie?
Read a book.
Salty snack or sweet snack?
Oh, no. Depends on what time of night it is. I'm going to go with salty snack.
Ride a bike or walk?
Ride a bike.
Live in the country or live in the city?
City.
That was a quick answer. Eat dinner at home or eat out?
I mean, eat out. I love eating out.
Skateboard or surf?
It depends on if the waves are good. So I'm going to say skateboard because the waves are rarely good.
Lose your phone or lose your wallet?
It's both. So losing my phone would be the worst. Yeah.
Skydive or bungee jump?
Neither. Jeez, Lauren. Oh, gosh. I think skydive. I would rather skydive, than bungee jump.
Matt, thank you so much for being on the show and shining a light on seniors helping seniors. We appreciate you being here. Everybody, we'll be back next week with another great episode. Thank you.